Hey everybody, Chance from Aquascape here. Today I'm going to show you part 2 in my series of how I convert submerged aquatics into immerse aquatic plants. It's very simple. The whole process is easy. As you saw in step 1, I float the plants for a bit. That's mainly just to get them used to being exposed to air, to allow the stomas to slowly open as opposed to just being shocked and thrown out there. You can skip that step if you want. It is optional. You can plant straight into the dirt as long as your humidity is high enough. I've had a better survival rate of the plants by doing that first step. That's why I decided to show it to you. So with this, step 2, what I like to use are these seed starter trays. They're the cheapest and easiest, most available option for having a little portable greenhouse. There are actual little portable greenhouses that you can go buy, as a lot of you've seen from Crystal Kesselman. If you don't know who Crystal Kesselman is, I suggest that you Google her. Crystal Kesselman is an amazing part of this hobby. So, but anyway, she uses actual mini greenhouses. This is a nice, cheap, easy way to somewhat replicate it. It's not as sealed as hers are, but I use them inside of a greenhouse. So this is like greenhouse inception. So it's like a greenhouse inside of a greenhouse. For me, it doesn't matter if they're sealed. I'll actually keep the lids askew like this while they're in my greenhouse, mainly because of airflow. Airflow is very important in this stage. If you are just going to keep them sealed while you're converting, you run into the chance and possibility of stems rotting out. And this happens a lot with the more delicate leaf rotalas, and also with the, of course, any of the delicate leaf plants I've noticed actually will tend to rot out like this. The airflow helps prevent mold and rotting. So to start off, again, these are just seed trays, seed starter trays. Very easy to find, Home Depot, Lowe's. I'll put an Amazon link in the comments of all the things that I use. My substrate that I use, a lot of you have heard about it, some of you haven't. I use a mixture of peat that's gathered from a local peat bog in Belle Glade, Florida. Belle Glade Florida is renowned for their soil. Their whole thing is, they call it black gold, like the oil kind of thing, but they're talking about soil. It's cool. The whole town's a big farming town, so a lot of good agricultural information there. But anyway, they have great peat, and it comes from thousands of years of vegetation and plant matter just decaying into the soil and mixing and being covered up over the years. So I like to get that. I get that and I mix it with some earthworm castings, vermiculite, a little bit of perlite, and I top it all off with safe-t-sorb. Safe-t-sorb you can get very easily from Tractor Supply if you have one by you. If not, it's called oil dry at some other places. Auto parts stores carry it a lot to help absorb oil. The reason why I do this part is I've noticed it helps prevent a lot of different molds and funguses and stuff from forming on top of my soil, because I do use, like I said, it's all peat. So yeah, if it's exposed and mucky, it will grow things that aren't supposed to be grown. That's why I cap it. Back to the peat thing. Peat lowers the acidity of anything you have it in. It's pretty well known. So if you don't have hard water like I do here in Florida, peat may not work for you. Peat works for me because the water that I am using out of the hose here is hard water. The peat actually helps balance that out, and I believe that's what makes me able to grow a lot of the soft water plants using my hard water, is the peat. Florida Aquatic Nurseries uses the same process that I use with the peat. So, little tip there. So with the converting of the plants, I showed you guys what we were going to be playing with. We have Hygrophila odora here, Ludwigia carpa, Alternantheria panda. I'm not sure of the species on this Alternantheria. It's a mutation of something for sure. This particular one has lost its variegation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to strip one side of it and plant it and hope for a new growth out of each one of these nodes. There's not many nodes there. I think there's like 3, but I may get, you know, that's 3 more chances than I have of it growing more variegation out of this piece here. So hopefully I get more variegated growth out of it and it's not a total throwaway. Otherwise it's just a really pink alternate there, which is still cool. Ludwigia sephora. This is not the mini variety, this is the larger variety. I got this to flower actually. This is going to be a project of mine that I'm working with Kevin Allen on, is going to be hybridizing this with another Ludwigia that we'll talk about another day. Rotella macrandra variegated. You can see from it floating how much it just loses all its color and all its happiness and everything like that just from floating for so long. But it's okay. What I'm looking for from floating it was actually just that little bit of new growth growing off of there. Sometimes I'll even float it long enough to where I get aerial roots coming off of the nodes here. Inner nodes, sorry. Nodes, right. Once I get the aerial roots coming off the nodes, that's kind of how I know I can go ahead and plant it. And then we have Rotella macrandra narrow leaf red. I have this emerse already, but I don't have very many stems of it going, so I'm kind of get this one going because I saw that it had a lot of growth on the sides of it like that. I'm hoping to get this one going so I can just jump start a bin. What else do we have? Rotella mexicana araguaya. This is cool too because it already has new growth coming out of the nodes there, which is nice, so that'll be hopefully a quick and easy convert. Sturgeon Puerto Vero. Sturgeons are easy to convert. They, in my opinion, don't want to be in the water anyway. So this guy I will literally just plant and he'll grow and be happy. The sturgeon species, whole sturgeon genus, sorry, is very easy to convert in both ways. Converting it from emerse to submerged as well as converting it from submerged to emerse. It's just very easy to do. And then I got in some plants yesterday from a buddy in North Carolina, John R. Some of you may know him. I got some Rotella mexicana green here that we are going to plant. That's already in its emerse state, so that is perfect, no worries. I'm going to do that in its own bin. Maiaca fluviatilis mini. I haven't had this one go emerse yet. It always just kind of sits there and goes idle. It doesn't do much and doesn't grow, but it doesn't die. So I'm not sure on that one yet. We'll see. I'll keep poking at it though. This is Rotella Japanese, Rotella rotellifundria Japanese. Just a cool Rotella rotellifundria variant. Bringing it immersed to kind of keep it in a contained tub so I don't have to have it in my tank, and that way I can still have it if people want it. That's my whole goal, is to just have stuff available so plants don't disappear from the hobby. That's the whole goal of the plant library and everything that I've started with that with Ed from Biotope 1. So this here is Limnophilia, there we go, Limnophila Hipporoides mini. This is the mini variety that has been shown a couple times. We have a feeling that it's Limnophila Hipporoides mini. We're not 100% sure, but it looks to be. It has the same amount of leaves per whorl as Limnophila Hipporoides. It just grows a lot more smaller, so we'll see. My botanical code is horrible. All right, so we will start first. Always label everything. I label everything that goes into my greenhouse. It's really easy to mix some of these plants up in their immerse form. They look very similar. So yeah, you want to make sure you label it. It makes life easy. With me starting them so close like this, definitely use labels. The whole goal of this process is just to get some immerse growth going. And step 3, I'll show you the farming out process. This is just to get them going. So we'll go here. This is a seed tray that I've already packed with soil. Sorry if I'm jumping around here, but it happens. This is a seed tray that I've already packed with soil, my mix. I've gone ahead and wet it a little bit And I don't run my my bins very wet, and I do that to prevent a lot of different issues that comes with bins being too wet. So I like to just barely, the mist setting on the hose, kind of go over it. I don't want any pooling in my bins, so basically no puddled water, no pooling, but I want the soil to be well packed into the bin. I don't want it to have gaps or anything like that. That will create issues as well. So now that it's wet, I have the safe-t-sorb here in my bucket. If you can see, there's a leaf in there as well. That's okay. But there's also water. I pre-soak the safe-t-sorb in water, mainly just to make it easier to work with. Dry safe-t-sorb's dusty. And honestly, this is just an easier way for me to spread it too, because it has the weight. So I take a good amount of it, I just put it on. You don't want a thick layer of this. I would probably say about a half a centimeter to maybe 3/4 centimeter if you really want it to be covered, but there's not a real need to put too much on. The whole goal of this is just to keep the surface of the substrate from being exposed too much. And I'll pack it down as I have it on here, and then once I have it pressed, I'll take the hose again, get it all wet. Again, no pooling water, and I'll kind of scrape off the excess here. You still want to leave access to the substrate below, mainly for obviously nutrients. The top of this doesn't have any nutrients yet. What we're going to do, I use this, which is not osmocote. This is actually this. I saved the actual analysis sheet to show you guys. This is what I use right here. See? Sorry about the horse that's hungry. So this is what I use. I don't use it in my tanks, so no. Just put a little bit in there. And I have some of this mixed in the soil as well. But putting a little bit on the top layer like this gives the actual plants that are on top enough nutrients so they can root down into the bottom of it. And this isn't a very high nitrogen content fertilizer. It is an ammonia based nitrate source, so go easy on it. I haven't had any burning from it yet, but if you do decide to use it, of course, figure out a good medium of how to use it as far as what you're growing and stuff like that. Don't just lard it on there. So yeah, just a disclaimer. So now that it's all spread around, I have my 2 bins set, everything's good there. We will go ahead and start placing plants. I'm not one to use many tools really when I plant. I like to use my hands as opposed to the turkey baster and the fish tank. I like to use the turkey baster and the fish tank. So we'll start with Rotella macrandra variegated here. Just trying to find, again, where the new growth is coming up here. I'm going to take off the old leaves. All of the old leaves will be taken off. They will not do anything beneficial at this point for what we are doing. So basically you're going to strip it down to the stem without removing the new growth. Keep that in mind, please. Don't remove the new growth. If you do that, you're going to wait longer. You'll still have a chance of getting it to convert, because new growth will come again, but it'll take longer. You already have the new growth. You don't really need to start over. So this process is a little tedious, but it's worth it. If I were to just throw this stem in there with the old leaves on there, it would rot for sure. I'd get some serious rot. You just be careful when you're pulling the leaves off that you're not pulling new growth off. Pull gentle and try to keep your hand on the base of the other hand on the base of the stem and go all the way down to the inner node with your thumb and index finger and just pinch like that. So very easy to do. Pinch, comes right off. If you try to like tug it and get all aggressive with it at this point, you can break the stem and have to deal with that issue. I know because I've done it. As frustrating as it is to be this delicate, it's worth it. So I'll strip off as many of these leaves as I want. The old leaves here. The top there I'm gonna leave. It should come around. So the top 2 leaves I'm gonna leave. Looks like I missed some down. Actually, no, that's fine. That might actually work. So there you go. All the big aquatic leaves have been removed. You're still, obviously these are aquatic leaves as well. This isn't what the plant looks like in its immersed state. But these leaves have been exposed to open air. The other ones have not. So what I do, I make a little bit of a line in the substrate till I start to just barely see the actual soil through the safe-t-sorb there. And as you were in aqua soil or planting in an aquarium at a 45-degree angle there, I just kind of press it in. You'll crunch the stem a bit, that's fine. If you want to use pin sets to do this part, if you feel like crunching the stem is going to hurt the stem, that's fine, you can do that too. And then I'll just kind of lay it down. And now what I'll do at the inner nodes here, if you look where I will pack a little bit of that safe-t-sorb over top of the inner nodes. See? Just like that. And what this does is this actually helps hold the plant down. And because those roots were forming, the aerial roots that I showed you earlier, it will give them something to root into. Just taking another little pinch of safe-t-sorb from the bucket and piling it on top there. So there. Just like that. So you follow that with pretty much all the other stems that are in that genus, all the Rotalas. This one here, the narrow leaf, is very easy. Just really have to be careful when moving the leaves. This one's very delicate when it's been floating for a bit. You could probably have better luck removing the leaves before the floating part with this plant. So just an idea. With the Hygrophila genus, Hygrophila is very easy. Now that this has been exposed, these leaves on Hygrophila will actually convert. So I won't remove these. These leaves themselves will be fine exposed to air. Stomas will close, and then the new immersed growth will grow, but the old aquatic growth will still stay, which is kind of cool. I actually have a few Hygrophilas that have both leaf morphologies on the stem as they convert up. It's really cool to see. So with this one, it kind of got a funky shape to it. My goal is to have as much nose exposed at the same time. I will remove this leaf though, because it's kind of in the way of light. Again, the whole purpose of this bin is simply to get these guys started. This is not what I keep them in. I do not farm out of these. This is just to convert them. Possibility of completely skipping this step and jumping into farm mode exists. If you have enough stems to convert, you can go ahead and do that. You can jump right into just full out farming them up if you want. But I'll show you how I do that in the next step. So leaving the nodes exposed, just kind of covering the inner nodes a little bit, and not even that much. And the cool thing about the safe-t-sorb is because it's got a good size to it, there's still airflow that gets through. So I have had times where I'll go after they've converted and I'll go to pull a stem off, and the whole stem from the actual aquatic is still intact and whole and happy, which is kind of cool. So the safe-t-sorb doesn't aid in rotting either, which is nice. So the hygrophil is set. Now that I have 2 plants in there, I'll go ahead and drop some tags, even though they look completely different. Again, labeling plants is just a good horticultural practice to get into. Since I've started working with actual degree holding horticulturalists and spent time with botanists and stuff like that, I've kind of noticed how lacking the hobby is in good horticultural practice as far as sterilization of utensils from moving to tank. The shrimpers do that a lot. I was very impressed. The shrimpers do that all the time. I was hanging out with Grant Eater. He has a YouTube as well, The Garden of Eater. And he sterilizes everything, so that's cool. I mean, taking those habits and applying them to the planted world can definitely help. I mean, we've all, maybe not all, but a lot of us have seen the Java gall and the devastation that's done. And you know, there's gonna be more plant pathogens that are gonna pop up. It's not like there aren't any that exist. So it'll happen, and having good horticultural practices can prevent those from spreading. So just a good thing to do. Sterilization's important, and labeling things is important. That way you're not mis-selling plants to people. That's really annoying when you go to buy something and it's not what it is. So my little rant, sorry about that. All right, this one's going to be a little difficult. This is the Alternantheria panda, SP panda. I have no clue what species it is, so I'm not even going to try to guess yet. I will, once I see a flower, I'll get some help to get an idea on it, because I'm curious too. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to strip all the leaves off of the stem, pretty much. I'll leave the top 2 leaves here, and everything else I'm gonna remove. So the same method as I used before, I just pinch the leaves off, and you got to be very careful. I'm putting these leaves down into a bucket that I have down here. So when you throw the leaves out, you want to make sure that you're keeping them into a contained spot. A lot of aquatics can grow wholeheartedly just from a single leaf, especially where I live in Florida. Again, good horticultural practices. Don't contribute to invasive plants running amok in your area, because they do. They'll completely wipe out all the native stuff, and it's sad. I've gone to areas that have just been completely eaten by Hygrophila polysperma, and it's sad, because you'll find like really cool Ludwigia, or like, you know, something neat Rotala ramosiar, just like a one of them sitting there, and then a field of Hygrophila polysperma, and you know next year that Rotala won't be there, or you know that Ludwigia won't be there because of the Hygrophila is going to eat it. So be careful. Everything that I pull off of here goes into a little container, like I said, and then it goes into my worm bin, and that's where I get my worm castings, my earthworm castings. I have my worms make my own. I've employed worms. So for this one, I will use a tool. It's a stick. So I make a little hole for this. I'm going to, it has a root. My hopes is I can get that root to just stay viable and do its thing. This was a top cutting off of Alternantheria panda that I have in my aquarium still. I just want to try to get it to come back to being variegated. And what I'll do, I'll just pack it like that. So the base of the stem is covered by the safe-t-sorb. It's resting on the wet safe-t-sorb, and it'll have the humidity from the dome. That way, I can hopefully get new growth out of these internodes here and continue the growth of the stem so I can keep trying for variegated growth. Hopefully I can get it to come back and get it going emerse. We'll see though. With the mutated plants like that, it's hard to say. A lot of them are chemically induced even. They're not even true variegation. So we'll see. I'm not saying that about this one, obviously. I have no clue. But if I can get it to come back, that'll ease some of my suspicion on that. So next, the Limnophila Hyperoides mini. Limnophila, again, another one of those really weedy genuses that do really well emerse. It's actually a spice. Aromatica is a spice that's eaten in Asia, very common. So it's grown emerse or emergent for that purpose. So it wants to grow out of the water, obviously. Like a lot of the plants we grow, it really doesn't want to be submerged, but it can take it. So for this one, again, it's a weed. I will just pack it in there. Just burying the base of the stem with just the safe-t-sorb. I'm not getting into the actual soil. I'm just staying into the safe-t-sorb. So very similar to just resting it on here, but like I said, I've had really good luck with the safe-t-sorb. So if you want to just set the stem down, go ahead. But this is my method. This is how I do it. This is how I have all my plants going. So sharing it how I do it. So tag it. All right, and this bin is good. So when I mist them with this here is just plain water. This is what I use to mist. I don't use the hose to mist them, mainly because dragging the hose in and out of my greenhouse is kind of a pain in the butt. I don't have plumbing inside of the greenhouse right now. I just use this. It makes a cool, good mist. So, and I don't mist them very often. This will be, I'll mist them this time and then once or twice throughout the day. I don't sit there and throw water on them all the time. They don't need a lot of water to convert. The idea is actually to convert them. So got to make sure the tags are pressed down. I may have to use scissors to cut them, or I can just press them down all the way. I am going to put the lid on all the way right now because I'm outside. It was like 36 degrees this morning, so the temperature's dropping a little bit, but the humidity is like nothing. So a bad day to do this, but I told you guys I would do it. And they're going to go right into my greenhouse, which is at like 78 to 80% humidity, so they'll be fine. But yeah, now it's on to the Ludwigias. Ludwigias are another really weedy genus. This is Ludwigia carpa, the large variety, the normal variety, the non-mini variety. So very cool plant. It is native to the United States, native to Panhandle of Florida, Texas, Mississippi area. Very cool plant. It gets really big in the aquarium, as you can see, so if you have a big aquarium, it's great. I imagine it would make an awesome kind of mid-ground plant in a Dutch scape. Almost can get it colored up well enough, it would make a great focal point plant too, kind of creeping across, because it grows leaning down. It doesn't grow erect, it'll creep. So emerse, it'll grow erect. I've had this emerse before. It's a monster. Its leaves are like, so again, I just kind of stripped some of the leaves off of it, not all of them. The goal with this is to just have the growth kind of continue through. I will strip a little bit more off because I do want some more of these nodes exposed to the sun, or exposed to light. not the sun. I guess it gets sun in the greenhouse, never mind. It is sun. But light period. Not everybody will use the sun as their source of light. I rant a lot. So, having trouble getting it to actually go in. I'm actually into the substrate a bit, but should be okay. Again, Ludwigias are really weedy. So, tag it. And we'll follow up with all these plants as well. So, next one we'll do, actually, we'll go ahead and do the Mayaca and the Mexican, or in the Starigen. That way you guys can get one of, each genus that I'm playing with here, and I'll finish the rest. I'll finish the rest off camera. I don't want to make 30-minute long videos for folks, unless you guys want it. If you don't mind the longer content videos, let me know, and I'll do longer content videos. But I feel that people want like information, like now, give me the information. But I like to talk, so oh well. Like I said, I've had kind of crummy luck burying this one or doing anything crazy, so I'm gonna try this time, just setting it on the substrate and letting it do its thing. I imagine in nature, that this plant separates from its main plant, or its main stem, and gets sent down the river. I say that only because of the way it grows in everyone's aquarium I've seen it in. It sends off the aerial roots, and right at the aerial root there, boom, new growth. And it sends off aerial roots right at the aerial root, boom, more new growth. So I believe it's just meant to be ripped up by currents or animals or whatever. I'll have to do some more research on it and see exactly how it is in the situation, but my guess is that that's kind of what it does. Either that or it's a super tidal zone and it just likes to keep creeping along. So one of the two, super tidal zone or rapid rivers being crazy. So like I said, I'm just gonna set it on top. Now Starigen, like I said, again, I say that a lot, I gotta work on that. These guys grow like weeds. They convert very easily. I am just going to poke a hole with my stick. Better hole. People are probably watching this like, he uses a stick. Yeah. Anyway. So there. Try not to get dirt or substrate on the actual plant there. Sorry, I had to peek at something. Getting dirt on the plant just makes it more difficult when you gotta actually finish up. So now that we got this all done, I'm just gonna go ahead and cap it. I'll finish those guys in a minute. Off camera, we're gonna go ahead and, there it is, label this one and label this one. So now that everything's labeled, we'll lid it. I'll bring it over to the greenhouse in a minute. So that's step 2. These plants will then sit there and begin their conversion. They'll do their thing every 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 times a day. I'm going to clarify that again. 2 to 3 times a day, I will open the lid, let them hang out for a minute, let them get some air. Again, the idea is to let them have airflow. You want them to convert to immerse, not stay submerged. And I'll just mist them. Light mist. Nothing serious, not a heavy water. And in my greenhouse, they will be askew. It's probably going to be difficult to do with the way I planted it, but I'll figure it out. If I have to, I'll just slightly askew it. It's not a big deal. But airflow is important. If you have to, you can cut holes in it, do whatever you need to. I haven't had to cut any holes in it by the way I keep it. They're not airtight either, so you get airflow that way. As long as there's exchange, you're good. Yeah, so I'll put a link to everything I use. I do have plans in the future to get to how I do my dirt, basically. My soil mixture's kind of on everyone's mind, but it's very easy. It's nothing serious. I've explained it before, but I'll actually go through the steps of how I throw it on the tarp and mix it and how I remineralize it and everything. But you can look up Sean Murphy on a podcast called Scape Foo. There is a podcast with him when he talks about this process, and I use his same process pretty much. Modify it a little bit. I add some things to it because I'm not using it in a fish tank. I can get away with a little bit more organic material, but pretty much the same thing. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or message me. Again, I prefer that you leave them in the comments, but I'm not going to be a stickler in it because my whole goal is to just get the information out there. I apologize for all the rambling and ranting I do. I do that a lot. Hopefully some of you are entertained by it. But yeah, so again, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Don't forget to let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas how you do it. That's cool. I like to hear that too. I like to hear how other people do it. Let me know. All right, guys, take care. Bye.